Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
It's 8:06, O'Connor and Company. Coming up in 30 minutes, we've got the chairman of the RNC, Michael Whatley, joining us. It's Larry O'Connor and Julie Gunlock. Good morning, Jules.
Good morning.
Joining us right now is Victoria Cobb. She's with the Family Foundation. And first things first, I want to let everybody know that on April 28th, there's going to be a dinner for the Family Foundation here in Northern Virginia featuring the governor, Glenn Youngkin. And sadly, that's not the biggest name. Even more impressive, frankly, Scott Jennings of CNN fame. All right, maybe Youngkin's a big name too. But either way, Victoria, that's going to be a fun night. Very excited about that. April 28th, the Family Foundation. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me. Yeah, it's going to be a great night. And we do still have a few tickets available for folks if they are interested in hearing or picking the governor's brain or getting one of these fun quips from Scott Jennings. People just go to our website, familyfoundation.org. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you for that. So let's focus on what's going on in Fairfax County right now, because I know the budget hearings are happening. And, you know, I'll be honest with you, Victoria, sometimes it just seems like such an uphill battle and that they don't care. They've got their votes. They're going to do whatever they want. So please give me some hope. What's happening in these Fairfax County budget hearings, and will our voice be heard?
Well, I think it's really important that residents of Fairfax show up in force, and tell this board that enough is enough. It's amazing to me that they can justify tax increases. At the same time, they're in a battle with the federal government over this DEI stuff, because if you look at their spending, it's something like $5.76 million for DEI. So literally they're demanding more money while spending all this money on DEI, faculty and curriculum and all these things. And yet they're keeping all that stuff and fighting off the federal government that's investigating them. That seems like an easy cut to make.
Victoria, also, they have continued with this transgender baloney in these schools. There are parents that are very frustrated with this, from sports to bathroom policies. There doesn't seem to be an end to this. What is your what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, we've been incredibly disappointed to not see them step in line when we originally had our governor reissue guidelines that said, look, in Virginia, this is the way our schools should operate. We should not have boys in private spaces with girls. And then we've, since that time, we've had the federal government with the president's orders come in. We've also had the Virginia the high school sports league has said, look, we're going to have boys playing girls sports. So there's been all these opportunities for them to come into alignment, and they're simply rejecting those in favor of an ideology that is harming our children. There are more than enough stories, even in the Northern Virginia area, where boys and girls spaces has been dangerous.
Well, a young girl was raped in a Loudoun County school by a transgender student, and everybody seems to memory hold that. But Victoria, what can, for instance, Governor Youngkin, he's still the governor, or Mayeras, what can be done from sort of a family policy position? Can they help Northern Virginia families? I am a Northern Virginia family. My family lives here in Northern Virginia. I live in Alexandria, and sometimes I feel like, gosh, I feel a little forgotten sometimes by the Virginia government. Do you feel that other Northern Virginia families feel like, have they just given up on us?
It is super frustrating to be someone that is assigned to a public school system that ignores their demands. And then, yes, at the legislative level, there have been efforts by Governor Youngkin. In particular, what he was trying to do was continue to move forward on educational choice, so that if parents are unhappy with their local public school, they can make a change. And that has been an upward battle for quite some time. And honestly, this is going to be about people not just showing up at your local, fighting the tax increases. So that's step one. Fighting the DEI, the transgender, all the things that happen at the school board, but it's also going to be about who they elect at the House of Delegates when it comes time this fall to make some different choices, because the challenge is all the educational efforts, all the budgeting efforts that the governor made towards helping families that feel trapped and unheard were rejected by the House of Delegates. And so really, this is kind of a step one, step two, step three. And unfortunately, it just requires incredible vigilance on behalf of parents to be engaged in all the places that we have to be engaged.
We're speaking with Victoria Cobb, Family Foundation. And Victoria, first things first, the budget hearings and the budget fights, it sounds like what they're saying is, okay, we're going to possibly lose our federal funding from for education because we're not going to adhere to the rules on DEI training and CRT in the curriculum and men and women's sports and allowing teenage boys to invade women's private spaces in the locker room, all that stuff. So we need to raise taxes because number one, we're not going to get federal funding because of our defiance. And number two, we're going to sue the Trump administration. We need more money for that, too. So everybody's going to pay for their decisions in that regard. Am I characterizing it properly?
It's completely accurate, and it comes at a time when, let's just be honest, there are real hits on jobs right now, just a reality of Northern Virginia, and a lot of folks being tied to federal government. There are real hits in our economy right now. The timing of this could not be worse by the Fairfax local government, and so you would think there could be enough pressure to get them to back away.
No. The pain is the plan. They want Fairfax residents angry. They want their taxes raised. And when they say why, and they say, well, because Trump did this, because he ended the Department of Education. He stopped the funding. That's their plan. They want people to feel pain. So how can they let their voices be heard ahead of time? Is this an open hearing? Can they go?
Yes, we expect that everyone showing up at this hearing, they should be making their voices heard. It is critical that people are clear that this is a choice that the Fairfax board is making. It is not forced by the federal government. They have a simple choice that can be made and that must be made on behalf of families. I think families are the driving force of Fairfax County. They're what makes Fairfax County thrive. And if the board can't understand that, parents have to show up to make sure that's understood.
Victoria Cobb is our guest from Family Foundation. Tell me a little bit more about the foundation, because, we oftentimes paint with a broad brush when we talk about teachers. And, of course, we mean teachers' unions and the leadership of the teachers' unions. And I'm often reminded by many listeners who are teachers that those unions don't speak for them. But sadly, they kind of do, literally, because they are the representatives of the teachers. But your organization, your foundation's law center, you actually defend teachers in Fairfax and Arlington County when they run at odds with the system. Tell me a little bit more about that and those teachers.
Yeah, I cannot tell you how many great teachers are in the midst of difficult systems. There are wonderful teachers who are simply trying to do their job. And unfortunately, what happens is they run headlong into this ideology that is being pushed by the unions and by Fairfax County higher-ups. And so we end up at our Founding Freedoms Law Center, we end up defending these teachers who oftentimes are literally, we had one that was put on administrative leave because they wouldn't get in line with the ideology. We've had others where they're being forced through training, participatory training on matters that violate their faith. And so what our law center does is steps in and reminds the school district that, in fact, the school district does not trump one's first freedom of being a person of faith and having dinner. They don't have to violate their convictions simply to work in a public school. And so we're thrilled to do that. And I would encourage, just because you do have so many listeners that are teachers, foundingfreedomslaw.org is a very easy place to go if they find themselves in these situations. It's, a lot of times it's as simple as, everybody's expected to, carry the rainbow flag and sort of
right,
and toe the line. I mean, we've talked about this, I'm sure, on this show before, but, just even the ABC's display that they had in West Springfield High School, where, every piece of that display was political or ideologically left. And, a teacher is expected to just be content that that is part of literally what's being taught to high schoolers, and I'm supposed to, as a teacher, comply with that, get on board with it, endorse it, confirm it, and that's not where people of faith find themselves in many cases where they can do that.
Victoria Cobb, Family Foundation, thank you for joining us again. That dinner coming up on the 28th, there's still tickets left. It's with Governor Glenn Youngkin and CNN Superman Scott Jennings. That's on the Monday, April 28th. You can get more information at familyfoundation.org. Thank you so much, Victoria.
Thanks.